Before I even say anything, we're already caught with a surprise. Hello, everyone. Welcome to round 7 here at the Canadian Grand Prix for Tier 3. We are here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, named after, of course, Gilles Villeneuve, I believe the first ever Canadian driver who unfortunately died back in 1982. The track was named in his honor. 14 corners make up this track and 3 DRS zones. You can see plenty of overtaking. However, as you can clearly tell, it's raining, so the DRS will not be available in qualifying. As to whether it will be the same in the race, we shall find out. But if you saw last race, which was the realistic tier yesterday, it was a bit of an interesting race, needless to say. It had a lot of interesting things happen up and down the order, and well, Canada always likes to throw a surprise. Let's see if we can get more of that. Right now, we definitely do. I am your host, Monaco, and alongside me is Zach the Beast. Zach, how are you going to feel about this Grand Prix considering what has already been thrown right at us?
Well, it's full wet conditions, as you can tell. There's going to be at least low to no traction here. Full wet conditions, just like you said. The DRS zones will not be used as Haycatcher is already off. It seems like she's playing with the wheel maybe, but she's not having any force feedback, so I wouldn't take that crash for granted. But yeah, I'm expecting a lot of up and downs, as you said, in realistic, as that certainly happened. As I am still surprised that it's full wet conditions right now, so we will see as quality goes on, as if maybe the rain will lower down a little bit, and maybe we will see the interest come out, but we shall know later on.
We shall see indeed, and like you said, everyone on the wet compound of Tired, which is only available when it's, well, this wet basically, and that is exactly what's going on. I do notice that a couple of people are gambling on inters, but I don't think now is the time. But for now, everyone is going to stick it out on the wets, trying maybe clear a bit of a, I would say, racing line. I was about to say that Ardel's going to be the first one to cross the line and start a lap, but he actually invalidated, so instead it's going to be the Alpine of Kieran. Zach, do you want to take us on for a lap?
Well, I gotta find him first. If we can do it. Alright, here we go. I got to. Got turn 2, and he has some type of boats here, and he's in the wall with no front wing, so no hot lap for now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not, but I guess the first person that will really be starting a lap is going to be the Ferrari of Ron Swanson, but it's only the start of qualifying, so I thought I might as well go down the championship order for a bit to kind of pass the time. So, coming into round 7, we have the Canadian of BRL ARDEL currently leading the standings with 90 points, only 5 points ahead of Gary, which has actually gone back-to-back wins. That could be very significant. He's gone back-to-back and is only 5 points behind, so maybe he could go for a third and probably challenge and get the championship lead. We shall see. Taco sitting behind in P3. He hasn't had a podium since Spain, where he last won. He's had a little bit of a dip on form. Let's see if he can claw anything back up. And then Ron Swanson in P4. He DNF'd last week, but was still able to stay in the top 4 with 71 points. Way ahead of the other Red Bull of Mitchie. Then that is good. That is your top 5. And speaking of Ron, he's the first one to set a lap. It's a 1:21.1. That's what everyone has to beat.
Yeah, that's a pretty good lap time on the wets. I'm assuming no practice for everyone out here, but as you can tell, I have a mouthful of salad in my mouth. So I apologize for the broken commentary here while I'm trying to swallow and chew this food. As Taco is retired from the session, actually, it seems like that is before the hairpin here.
I'll try and see if I can have a bit of a look. Yes, indeed. It looks like he's crashed on the exit of turn 9, and oh!
Yeah,
that looks like a pretty hefty crash. Taco not getting the best of the conditions here and is already out of qualifying. And unless anybody else DNFs, he's going to start last in this Grand Prix. We'll see if he can do anything to try and make his way up the order. But yeah, that's not gone well for Taco, as he has not had the best of runs.
Yep, something Taco did not need it because Used to, he only had 2 competitors. Now he has 3. As like you said, like while you were going on about Taco Daniff in qualifying, Mitchie went around but was able to recover the car. As BRL ARDEL, the Canadian, goes in the P2 with a 121.4. So it does not seem like the conditions, at least so far, are improving. As ARDEL almost loses it on the exit of turn 2, I believe. It may be turn 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
I believe that may be turn 2. Yes, so he is he's currently sitting in P2. He had a purple sector 2, so he still has some pace to find. We'll see if he can possibly challenge the Ferrari of Ron Swanson. Right now, just under 2/10 behind. Next person to cross the line, I believe, is the Mercedes of Quick Tongue. Has he invalidated? No, he hasn't. That's a 33.6, though. He's probably going to want to improve that lap time, no doubt. Next person across the line was actually the Alfa Romeo of Hey Catcher, who I believe was just starting a lap, so I guess the next one to officially set a lap time is going to be the Ferrari of Whiffy. Where does he go? He goes up to P4, 121.8, 6/10, I believe, are under his teammate. We'll see if he could possibly challenge for that pole position, which I think would be his first ever. Still a long way to go, though.
Yep, there is just something I want to know. If you have the tires pulled up, Taco is onto inters and lost traction. If I had to assume, he lost traction and tried correcting it, but overcorrected it to the left and hit the wall. Unfortunately, he DNF'd as MST Solar is on an out about to start his climb on the intercompounded tire. So I want to not do a hot lap, but like a little commentary and see how the inters are doing. As I can tell that the rain has lightened up quite a lot here. As he gets
yes, it has.
And he gets a snap of oversteer coming out of turn 2, going into turn 3. You gotta take a very tight line. Can't go too far left because if you get over that curb, you're gonna get a warning in the race. But while you got it, he sets a purple sector 1 with a 23.9. If I can recall, I remember Ron's wet lap being a 22 flat, I believe, in sector 1. But don't take that with a grain of salt. Is going for sector 2 now. It seems like he's gaining more traction throughout the lap. The inters are definitely improving here. Let's see what his sector 2 time is. If he sets purple here, then I can definitely say that the inters are the best. He sets his purple sector 2 for 49.3. If I have to take a guess, this will be around a 21 flat to 20.5. I believe we're going through the long straight now. If this was dry, DRS would be activated right here, but there is not. So going through this long chicane here, it's very tricky because if you get oversteer, you're going to get a penalty. If you get understeer, you're going in the wall champions. He gets neither of that. Gets it after a little bit of oversteer, corrects it twice, makes a fabulous save. But now with that, he will go at 21.5. Only 3/10 off of the full wets. But considering
that's not a bad lap time for him, but Quick Tongue has unfortunately retired from the session, crashed at the same place Tacos did, so that has not gone well for the Mercedes driver. Currently sitting P6, but that might change depending on what everyone else does. Right now, at the moment, a lot of people looking at the inters, especially the 2 Red Bulls. They're both on the inters. We'll see what they can do. Run cross the line, but I think he might have had a bit of a moment. I'm not entirely sure. Kieran crossed the line. He went up to P6 on the wets. But just looking over at the chat, seeing what people are saying at the moment, apparently it is going to be dry for the race. So that is going to be interesting in terms of strategy. Oh! Kieran gets a huge snap there. Manages to keep it out of the wall, but that was a really big moment for the Alpine.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. Once again, another great save by the drivers in Tier 3.
Oh!
And as soon as I say that, and Gary goes fastest over 20.3 the inters, almost a whole second clear of Ron Swanson on the wet, so now definitely the inters are the preferred compounded tire. But the person I'm looking at right now is BRL ARDEL, the Canadian. As what you did yesterday in Realistic, a Canadian winning the Canadian Grand Prix. Can Ardell continue the trend? Not really the trend, but can he make it 2 in a row for the Canadian here at the Canadian Grand Prix? As I had a little bit of a tongue twister there. I don't know what his sector 1 time is. He locks him going to the corner. I believe this place is locked up around him, to be honest, because I was watching your out on your laps on inters. I believe it was inters. I think it was. Yeah, that's correct. As Ardell goes purple with he's down at 1.5 on his time, as that will put him as he gets a snap of oversteer, has to get out of the throttle. that will not be good for his lap time.
Got a bit close to the wall there, manages to keep it clean. He's still pushing as, like you said, he had a purple sector too. Let's see if he can cross the line and better his lap time. He's currently sitting P5 with a 1:21.4 at the time being. He's now going on to the pit straight. Does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes up to P2 and actually, I was about to mention, disrupts the McLaren 1-2. But Gary, all of a sudden, has gone back up to pole position, or at least provisional pole position for the time being with a 19.4. That's just over a tenth ahead of Walken. We'll see if he can possibly retain that as well. Gary, looking over the statistics, Gary already has one pole position. Can he make it two?
Something I'd like to point out is that Stig crashed out after the wall at Champions. He got a snap of oversteer and hit the left side of the retaining wall. As I saw it with test signs as he invalidated his lap trying to avoid the debris. Now, while you mentioned that, Ron improved to a 19.8, and yeah, I was correct about that. And now that puts Solar down in the 5th position.
Yes, that does, but his Ferrari teammate directly behind him, on track, that is, not in positioning. Also on the inters as well, so it's definitely time for inters. Let's see what Whiffy can do in relation to his teammate. I think, considering the head-to-head between the two Ferraris, Whiffy has yet, Whiffy has outqualified Ron before. Can he make it too? Ardel goes fastest with a 19.3. The Canadian driver apparently getting a nice grip of the inters and a nice grip of the track. He's over a tenth up on Gary, but will that stand? It could come down to the final laps of this qualifying to see who could get pole position. It's all to play for.
Yeah, it really is. It's something I'd like to point out before. After Kat invalidated the lap, she ran a 19 flat, so if she didn't invalidate, she would have went fastest for the 19 flat, as I said before. But now it is that lap, and now this lap, really. So now my question is Ron goes top with a 19.2, 3 laps on the inters. Maybe he's trying to get all this practice in, but the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's going to be a dry race or not. You can do as many laps as you want. You can do 100 laps for all F1 cars, FIA, I should say, for the FIA cars. As long as it isn't wet conditions, and guess what? It's all for play.
Yeah, and looking at Ron, he's already done 3 laps on those intermediate tires. I think he might have backed off now, so he's probably going to go into the pits, go into a new set of inters. But that is a very good lap time from the Ferrari driver. I don't think he has a pole position yet. Oh, wait, no, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, he does. Ron does have a pole position, so he's going to want to make it too. But he has a lot of fast drivers to contend with, especially Ardel and Gary. Ardel wants the pole position in front of his home crowd, and Gary, well, he wants to start at the front so he can try and make it 3 in a row in the race and take the championship lead. We'll have to see, but you mentioned Katra before. And if we look over at Katra's recent form, Katra joined in Monaco and finished P3 there. Next race, Baku, finished P2. P3, P2, in just the first 2 races, 2 podiums in a row. So it's very good form from the Alfa Romeo driver. Let's see what she can do. She may not have a lap time on the board yet, but there's still 4 minutes left. She could possibly get something. As you said before, he had a 19.2, and ooh.
Yeah, I saw that.
Test sign's getting a little bit squirrely.
And Kieran goes top with a 19.2, and Kieran actually beats him out with a 19.1. Seems like the track is definitely gripping up. Something I'd like to point out is that I can barely see the rain on my screen now, so it definitely, if the rain goes away, the true question is now, will the track dry up in time?
By the looks of it, it might, but I don't think it will be enough for the dry compounded tire. But Kieran Evans, I would say, is a bit of a surprise pole right now. The Alpine driver does not have a pole position as of yet, but he's currently sitting in P1. But then Walken Chaos with an 18.3, 8 tenths ahead of Kieran. So the track is definitely ramping up.
I'm trying to look around and who's on a lap. I believe MCC Solar, yes, his teammate, he's invalidated actually. Is Test Signs on a lap? Yes, he is, but he backed out
I
of
think
it.
he might have backed off.
Yeah, he did. So I'm trying.
So I think the next person to cross the line will be the Mercedes of Gary, going to start his, I believe, last 2 flying laps, as he can do 2 flying laps in this. The yellow flag up in Sector 1, that might be for Catcher, who has spun it right before turn 3. Manages to keep it going, though. I don't think she has damage. I'll have to wait and see. Oh, she does. She does indeed have damage, so the Alfa Romeo driver might not have a lap time and will start P11 or P12. It's not gone well for the Alfa Romeo. We'll see what she can do in the race, though, as well. We have 35 laps to negotiate in the race. We'll have to see if anyone can be the best of the rest in the dry conditions. Who can have the best strategy? Who has the overall pace? We'll just have to wait and find out after this qualifying. But so far, a bunch of people are on their laps, except for a few, specifically Walking Chaos. He is not on a lap right now. He is actually in the pits. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That is for Kieran. He has spun it right before the back straight, and that's not gone well for his lap time, but he might try and go for another one. We shall see, but the next driver to cross the line is going to be the Haas driver of BRL, Kieran, currently sitting P3, needs 8/10 if he wants to improve, but he invalidates. He invalidates at the final corner. Would it have been a better lap time? Yes, it would have, but it wouldn't have been enough for pole position, and I guess you could say that the P3 is all he can get for now. The 2 Ferraris, though, they are looking to start their laps. Whiffy ahead of Ron. Ron currently sitting P4, Whiffy currently sitting P8. We'll see if both of these drivers can do anything in this qualifying.
Is Gary goes
MSC
for -4.
Yes, he does. It's not enough for pole position, but like I said, he could be going for 2.
Yes,
So he's currently 1/10. He needs to find 1/10 improvement if he wants to get the pole position. 40 seconds left of the session. Anyone who is not on an out lap or already crossed the line is not going to be able to set a lap time. So far, 3 people are on an out lap for the time being, including the McLaren of Walking Chaos. Purple Sector 1 for Gary. He's found quite a bit of time in Sector 1. Let's see if he can carry it through Sectors 2 and 3. Ardel goes up to P3, 7/10 now behind Walking Chaos. It is not enough, but he could possibly be going for another run. We shall see. Gary now going to cross the Sector 2-3 split.
2.2. That's going to put him
2/10. We shall see. He has to make sure he doesn't want to invalidate at the final chicane, because that could be notorious for penalties. Walking Chaos did not cross the line, so Walking Chaos is not able to defend his pole position. The one person to really watch out for is Gary. Whiffy goes up to P4 ahead of his teammate, but Ron Swanson doesn't improve his lap. Gary keeps it clean through the final chicane. He's got to blast down the straight. Does he get another pole position? Yes, he does. An 18.3 for the Mercedes driver. 14 thousandths between P1 and P2. And DRS has actually been enabled. And look who's in the DRS. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Never mind. Sorry. Excuse me a little bit, but he's actually invalidated. I was about to say that Ardel could have had a massive advantage here. Mitchie goes up to P3, though. So Mitchie has jumped his teammate and starts on the second row alongside. So it's a Red Bull front row. Last person to set a lap time is going to be Sainz, but he's actually spun it and invalidated. So that is it for qualifying, and Gary, by the smallest of margins almost, gets pole position here at Canada.
Yeah. I don't know who it was. Wasn't it Ardel that you said? If he didn't invalidate that lap, he had DRS. That's easy. That's an easy 5/10. And not to mention that the last, or you can say first DRS straight coming to the line, that would have been an extra 3/10, so that could have been potential pole for Ardel if he didn't invalidate.
Yep, but unfortunately he did. He will still line up in the top 4, though, so he will still have a decent position going into the race. And considering how this track could be in terms of overtaking, he'll no doubt want to make the most of it. Sainz says, well, we're just waiting on Sainz for the time being in P12, one not able to set a lap time. So both Aston Martins, P12 and P14, both of them just having the worst time, basically, in Canada. We'll see what they can do in the race. There's still a long, long way to go. But they're going to have to make a lot of overtakes, especially when they're challenging the Mercedes of Gary with his second pole position. And he's looking in the box seat for a potential 3 wins in a row.
Yep. Something I'd like to point out is this is Quick Tongue's last race in Tier 3, unfortunately. So I believe he will have to go into knee surgery. So thoughts up for him, hoping that he will make a recover and will be able to come back in the Breakout Racing League soon and whenever he can, and hope that he will be in healthy condition when he does. So yeah,
best of luck to Quick Tongue. Hopefully he can get something spectacular in this Grand Prix. He is sitting P10, so he will be in the top 10. So he's just going to have to work on strategy. But qualifying is over, and Gary gets his second pole position. Margin, just very marginal between him and the McLaren of Walking Chaos. Then it's an all Red Bull, second row. Mitchie ahead of Ardell. Then Whiffy in P5 ahead of Kieran. Then comes BRL Kieran in P7 ahead of Ron Swanson. MSC Solar lines up P9 ahead of Quick Tongue. And the bottom 4, Katra, Sainz, Stig, and Taco, unfortunately not able to set a lap time.
Yeah, I'm excited for the race here. As yesterday in Realistic, we kind of had the different tales here at Canada. You started in pole position by over a second, I'd like to point out. I was very surprised when he did that lap. I knew quality was over as soon as he did that lap. And I started P15. Unfortunately, I was held up in the pits and I couldn't get a lap time in due to the weather. So if I'm not a driver like Cat here, you gotta play it passive aggressively. You can't make aggressive moves on lap 1, but you can't be too passive, because if you're too passive, you will be caught up in the, I would say, DRS train, to be honest, especially through the sector 3. So we wait for everyone to load in now, that way we can get into formation lap. So I'm excited to see what she can do here at Canada. And considering her momentum has been with her ever since she joined Tier 3, I'm excited to see what she can do.
Yep, we shall see. It's going to be one interesting race. And if we look back over at Realistic as to how crazy that was, hopefully we can get more of the same. There may not be 20 drivers, but there's still 14. Still a lot to play for. But we're going to go over to the tires. Gary is going to start on the softs, but Walking Chaos, interestingly, going to start on the mediums. So so the Mercedes and the McLaren opting for different strategies, especially, and also the 2 Red Bulls. They've gone, Mitchie's gone soft. Ardell has gone medium. Most people going for mediums, but actually, no, sorry. If anything, it's kind of split if you look at it. There is around, I think, 9?
There is 6
drivers?
There is 6 soft
I think there's
runners.
9 drivers on the mediums and 6 on the soft, so it's going to be an interesting race. But I think we should get some predictions in. So, chat, put your comment in below. Who is going to be your podium? Who's going to be a potential surprise? Or can Gary manage to get a 3rd win in a row? Tell us your predictions in this race as we go through the formation lap. And what would be yours, Zach?
For podium, I would say I believe that Gary will go 3 in a row unless something happens, like a safety car or something like that. And I believe 2nd will be BRL ARDEL. If he hasn't been caught up in anything, or he hasn't got any time penalties, he's always been up with the leaders. So for 3rd, I'm gonna have to go with, to be honest with you, I could see either Cat or Ron. I'm stuck between Ron or Cat here. But finishing up our formation lap, no one has been disqualified, so everyone's tires to be up to temperature. As now we are waiting for everyone to line up in their pit slot.
Just want to give a quick mention, though. We actually have someone entering in the race, but he wasn't able to enter in qualifying. It is the Alpine of Killer F1, and his teammate is up in P6. He's down in P15 and last. Let's see what Killer could do. He could be potentially one to watch out for, but everyone is now going to line up on their grid slots as we're going to start this Grand Prix. And the 5 lights are coming on. And it's lights out, and away we go. A pretty good start for Gary, but Walking Chaos is already looking to try and go around the outside of the Mercedes. He actually is looking. He's now got the inside. Does he get the move done already? Yes, he does. So Walking Chaos on those mediums has jumped ahead of Gary at the start. Ardel and Mitchie are switching places. There's a lot of position changes at the back. Kieran getting ahead of Evans, but Walking Chaos getting the better of the starts on the mediums and is now the lead car on the mediums and the lead car out of anyone. But Gary, he is very close behind, and both the Red Bulls are not following closely behind. That is a yellow flag, and that is going to be the Alpine of Killer. He's had a bit of a moment. I don't know if he has front wing damage or not, but he will... Oh yeah, he does. He does have wing damage, so he's going to come back into the pits most likely. Position change for P4 and P5. Whiffy's gone down the inside of Ardel at the hairpin. Then he gets the move done and moves himself up into P4. Now going to try and challenge the other Red Bull of Mitchie for a potential podium. And remember, he is on those mediums, so we'll see how the medium tires will come into effect in the latter stages. But Walking Chaos, he leads the Grand Prix and the first lap ahead of Gary, then Mitchie. Kieran has now actually got past Ardel. They're going wheel to wheel, actually. Kieran gets a 3-second time penalty, so already we have a 3-second time penalty. Kieran going to try and go around the outside of the Red Bull. Doesn't quite get the move done, but they're still going wheel to wheel. Kieran has the outside, Ardel has the inside, and Ardel just sluts ahead. Ardel not entirely getting the best of the medium tires. But so far, though, everyone keeping it clean.
Yeah, everyone's keeping it on the tarmac. I'm not sure what happened to Killer. I believe he's kind of snapping photos here, if I had to guess. Is something I would like to point out is that Walking Chaos has actually kept the gap between himself and Gary. So seems like the meter's put into play. Kieran's in the wall. I'm not sure if that's any wing damage. I will have to check. There's no wing damage visually. This still signs against a 3-second time penalty. So I'm trying to look behind here. Everybody was jockeying for position, really. Lap 1, I was seeing overtakes everywhere. So I believe everyone now has a 3 to 5 tenth gap, except for Whippy Ardel, which is a second and 2 tenths. So it seems like we already have a DRS train forming here. Everyone can keep it clean. In the 1-second range, as Kieran is looking on the inside for Ron Swanson, P7, he goes down the inside as Ron Swanson will just let him through. No, he will not. He's going back on the inside and cannot get the runoff. And now Kieran up into P7 and Ron is back down into P8.
Yeah, and Kieran's going to try and chase after the other Kieran. Oh, when he hits the wall, that could be damage. We'll have to see. The sun is starting to come out, so now the grip is going to come to these drivers. But Kieran getting ahead of Ron up into P7, going to try and chase the other Kieran. Does a position change further back. It's Quick Tongue getting ahead of Katra and Taco. These three are actually very close together, and Quick Tongue is really holding those two drivers up. Remember, Katra's had a run of podiums, and Taco, he is currently sitting P4, so these two are a force to be reckoned with. Katra trying to go around the outside of Quick Tongue. Gets a lot of traction out of that corner, but doesn't get the move done yet. But Katra is still on the back of Quick Tongue. Does have the DRS. Quick Tongue does not have the DRS, and Katra's going to sail past the Mercedes driver and is now going to go up into P10 and up into the points. And there's a position change at the front. Oh, and that's the yellow flag. And Kieran is out, and the other Kieran has lost his front wing, and that is undoubtedly a safety car.
I was looking for on Katra there. Oh, is Katra making a little contact with Quick Tongue there? That gonna be a 5-second? Yes, it is. It's Cat hits Quick Tongue once again. That could be another one.
Could be, I'm not entirely sure. I just saw Kieran, he was backwards on the exit of turn 14, but has gone into the pits already. I think that might not be the best way to do it, but he has gone for a front wing change. I think the two Kierans might have actually collided with each other, so Kieran on Kieran and BRL Kieran getting the worst of it, and Kieran Evans just managing to come off the better of the two. But we are now under safety car condition, and Walking Chaos has managed to keep his lead ahead of Gary. And remember, Gary is on those soft compounded tires. It is lap 4, but Gary, he could potentially think about possibly boxing. We shall see. He is going to come over to the pits. He does! He does pit, so Gary is now into the box. So is Mitchie. I think a bunch of people on the sauce are possibly going to try and pit. What does Ron Swanson do? He's on the sauce as well. Ron also pits as well, so does Katra. And I think that is everyone for the soft compounded tire. But everyone on the softs now opting to go on to most likely the medium compounded tire. Looks like everyone for the time being is going to switch on to those mediums. Does Catcher go on the mediums as well? Yes, she does. But the only person that actually stayed out on the softs is Quick Tongue. We'll see how that plays out. But now the safety car's out, and it is the Aston Martin safety car, not the Mercedes. And Walking Chaos leading ahead of, actually, sorry. No, I already noticed that, sorry. Walking Chaos leads Whiffy now ahead of Ardell. Then comes the other McLaren of Solar. So it's a McLaren 1-4. Can they possibly make it a McLaren 1-2? Can they both get on the podium? We'll have to see. Still a long way to go, but I guess you could say the biggest gainers out of this are the two Aston Martins. Remember, they were P12 and P14. They're now up to P6 and P7. And Taco, ideally, is the head of the two Aston Martins.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for the championship battle, really, between Ron, Gary, Taco, and Ardell. Past few races, I wouldn't say that they've been stepping over each other. They just been making mistakes, really, or being caught up in something that they could not do, that they did not, or they cannot control of their own. And now that has opened the door wide open for really everyone, including the championship battle. And Gary has 100% taken the opportunity. Now he's already up in the P2 in the championship standings, only behind BRL ARDEL. So I cannot wait to see what this race unfolds like for the championship battle.
We shall see, and remember, everyone ahead of Gary has to pit no matter what. Castro has unfortunately left the session. Trying see if he can try and get her back. Gary could be potentially one to watch out for in this Grand Prix because he was running in P2. He has pitted and is now on the medium compounded tire, as is everyone else in front of him. He does have the fresher mediums though, and ideally he has used 2 tire compounds. So Gary is going to be the one to watch out in this race. And also Quick Tongue as well, to see how those softs click in. Katra has now joined back into the session and will hopefully take control of her car again. But now she is P12. I think she was P11 at one point, so I think maybe Kieran might have overtaken her. I'm not entirely sure. But I think the safety car may come in this lap. We're just waiting on the Alpine of Killer F1 to come up on the back. Interestingly, on the hards. See how that plays out. But from what I know, wouldn't you say that the hards aren't exactly the best on this track?
No, they're not. I'm actually surprised that even one person has taken the hard compounded tires. I do not believe the safety car will be in this lap because Kieran is just now getting to the hairpin. And I was expecting everyone really to do a soft, medium, medium. For everyone that was on the softs, actually. Not everyone, everyone in general. So, yeah, once again, nothing really to do except for speculate on what's going to happen on the safety car. So we just got to wait and see how a safety car will 100% come in this lap as people are getting onto the front straight and as the safety car is just now getting into turn 2.
Yes, indeed. So everyone's still bunched up on the safety car. It should come in on lap 7, which is what we are on now. And we should get back to racing real soon, but right now we just have to wait it out for a bit. It's going to be interesting how this race plays out now. We have one DNF, which was Kieran, unfortunately tangling with the other Kieran, in which Kieran Evans, he is in P11. I'm saying a lot of Kierans over here. But it's going to be... Well, I guess the one thing you could definitely look out for is potentially a lot of overtakes. Because remember, there are 3 DRS zones. One going into turn, I think, turn 8. One going into turn 13. And then one going, ideally, into turn 1. So 3 DRS zones to possibly make an overtake. We'll see how that pans out, as the safety car is now going to be in this lap. So now it is Walking Chaos's choice as to whether they will go, or when they will go, actually, as he's going to back everybody up and try and build a gap.
Mm-hmm. So now all you have to do with the safety car is just let the safety car go in the pits, and you cannot go unless the safety car is already past the pit lane entry, I believe it is. I'm not sure, because I'm not usually the leader when the safety car comes out, so I don't have the knowledge on that. As Welcome Chaos goes to the Wall of Champions, and he goes now, and he gets a bit of oversteer past the correct is Luffy winner. Oh, barely 2 hits behind. We go for a move. He peaked. No, he does not. As Walker Chaos will be able to keep the lead going out of turn 2 unless he gets the snap. Because no, he does not. As now the gap between him and Whiffy has grown to 5 tenths. Is believe Gary and Ted Signs are going wheel to wheel. I believe so. No, they're not, but I saw that they were at one point. Gary, the gap between him is Gary. Oh! The inside, and there's contact. He's corrected. Oh, that was very close for a collision there. And it's just trying to pitch Gary. Gary's not having any of that. Maturing lap, old medium compound tire, and time to let Gary through his test. It's good time because it's a 3-step time penalty for track limits. I believe Mitchie and Test Signs are going to look at well. Yes, I believe it's Test Signs is just really a standing duck at this point. Or whatever his name is.
It's a bit argy-bargy between Gary and Sainz, but ideally Gary getting ahead of the Aston Martin, and Katra has now gotten ahead of the Ferrari of Ron Swanson up into P11. She's going to try and make gains in this race. Speaking of Sainz, he gets a 3-second time penalty. There's a position change for P6 now, as Gary has... there's a yellow flag, and it's Walking Chaos! Something has happened to Walking Chaos, and now he's gone down from P1 all the way down to P9. So the McLaren driver I think he might have had a bit of a moment, but that has not gone well for him, and is ideally behind the Mercedes of Gary, who he was fighting before the safety car. So Walking Chaos, things have just changed dramatically for the potential win, as now Whiffy is leading this race, but closely behind, let's not forget, Ardel. He is the championship leader right now, and he is Canadian. He's going to want to go for this.
Sorry for interrupting you, but I went on board with Cat as she went through Walking Chaos, and I saw that Taco hit the wall. Is that going to be wing damage? I'm trying to look if he can help me out here.
I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't seeing any visual, but one thing I want to know is that Gary is ahead now of his teammate Quick Tongue. So Gary is already up into P4. So he's making a lot of positions. So that could have been damage for the Aston Martin, and Walking Chaos is in as well. Maybe he thinks that those mediums are done. Actually, no, he has a front wing change.
That is
so he might have hit something, and now has a front wing change, and is gonna fall way down the order. That is not what the McLaren wanted after starting P2.
Yep, since Sainz gets another 3-second time penalty for track limits. They're not having a great weekend here at Canada so far. It's the closest battle on track between Mitchie and Quick Tongue, I believe. The gap is going down, and that's the yellow flag that says Sainz has got a wrong race.
Oh.
That's a safety car.
And that's another safety car. That could potentially make or break people's race in this, as you can clearly see on the tires. Everyone, actually, one person that this could potentially help is the Mercedes of Quick Tongue. You see what tires he's on?
Yeah. Also, I'd like to point out, this sounds Walking Chaos as well. I believe he started on the mediums, didn't he? I have to check Race Director. Oh,
yes, he did. He did start on the mediums as... Actually, no. Did he? I think he did.
If he did...
there's actually a bunch of people in the pits all of a sudden. Hold on a minute. A bunch of people are already in the pits. I think that might be Whiffy, Solar, Ardel, Quick Tongue, and Ron Swanson as well. Whiffy staying ahead of Ardel. They are everyone going on the mediums, except for the Red Bull. The Red Bull of Ardel, interestingly, has gone onto the softs.
Maybe Ardel believes that he isn't gonna win the race. His dig is out.
What's happened there? Oh, that's a interesting place to crash. I'm not entirely sure what went on there, but that is now the AlphaTauri of Stig out of the Grand Prix. We now already have 3 retirements, but it was under safety car conditions, so it won't pull out a safety car because the safety car is already out in the first place. But everyone is now bunching up behind the safety car, and look who's leading the safety car is the Mercedes of Gary. So by Gary pitting on that first safety car, he has absolutely made it work and is now back in the lead of this race. Mitchie, the Australian, is in P2. He's going to want to challenge the Mercedes of Gary, and Kieran as well also would want to challenge those 2 in front. Same with Katra. Katra's not had the best. Look where she is. She's up into P4. So Katra, despite starting outside the top 10, has absolutely made it work as she went on onto the mediums on the first safety car, and Killer as well. He went on the hards, and he's currently sitting in P5. We'll see how that plays out, but so far, the people that pitted underneath the safety car, they're really the biggest benefiters out of all this.
Yeah, as I was saying before Stig crashed out about Ardel, I believe that Ardel doesn't believe that he's going to win the race if he just does the same strategy as everyone else. Maybe he's taking a gamble here. Thinks that another safety car will come out and in like another 10 to 5, around the 5-10 lap mark. And if that does happen, he will go on to beat it, but he will have a big tire advantage over the rest of the competition. So once again, as I said earlier, maybe Ardel doesn't believe that he's going to win this by being on the same strategy as everyone else, and will take a gamble. And we will see later on if this gamble will pay off or not.
Yep, we shall see. There's still a potential chance of more safety cars. That might be what the Red Bull is betting on. It is lap 12 of 35, and we've already used 2 out of 4 safety cars, as the limit is 4. But what I'm surprised about at the time being is the, I would say, lack of penalties, I guess you could say. Only 4 people in this Grand Prix had penalties for the time being as well. I guess people are finding their form for track limits, so that is good to see. Safety car is now in this lap. It is now the Mercedes of Gary to decide when the racing shall resume. Remember, no one can overtake until they have crossed the start-finish straight. Gary is fully aware of this, so he's going to want to back everybody up as much as possible. Remember, he started from pole position. He boxed. He's on the mediums. And he's going. So he's going very early, and that's caught Mitchie massively out. Look at that! He's already out of the DRS!
He caught everyone out in that safety car restart. He's already out of the DRS!
What an amazing getaway from the Mercedes, and he's already out of the DRS of Mitchie, and that's going to leave Mitchie very vulnerable to the Alpine of Kieran, and as well as the Alfa Romeo of Katra. So Gary making the most out of everything, catching everyone out. Ardel gets a 3-second time penalty. That's not going to help his race, as remember, he is on the softs. Speaking of Ardel, he's made a move up into P6, getting ahead of the Ferrari of Whiffy. So he's trying to make as many overtakes as possible until that safety car. But Gary, wow.
Yeah, speaking about DRS, Mitchie's already back in the DRS range, as he is getting a move on to get back in that DRS range. But the driver I would pay attention to is Walking Chaos on the 1 lap. Oh, his tongue goes wide. Has to miss quick tongue. If he doesn't, then he will get wing damage. Has to let Walking Chaos through. And now that will put Walking Chaos up into a P11. Now he's going to look on the inside in the quick tongue. Quick tongue will use his battery. Walking Chaos does not, as quick tongue will stay in the points in position of P10, at least for now.
Him and possibly help his teammates, and Whiffy actually getting past Ardel. So Ardel actually, he might have had a bit of a moment, I'm not entirely sure, but that has allowed Whiffy to go back up into P6, Ardel back down into P7, and Ron Swanson behind Ardel at the time being. He's going to want to capitalize on that Red Bull, try and get past him as soon as he possibly can. Quick Tongue has got past, he's actually got past Solar and up into P9. And Walking Chaos has also gotten past Solar as well. ElTaco has also gotten past Solar as well. So Solar might have had a huge moment and is now down to P12 and last of the runners now. So that's not gone well for the McLaren. Walking Chaos is now trying to go around the outside of the hairpin of Quick Tongue. Quick Tongue tries to fight it back on the inside of the hairpin. Walking Chaos nearly hits the wall, gets really good traction out of the corner thanks to being on the softs, and he has moved himself up into P9 and is going to try and chase after the Ferrari. But Quick Tongue is going to come back at him though because he has the slipstream. Taco also has the slipstream as well, but Quick Tongue stays behind by the time being. Taco though, he got a really good exit out of that corner, and he's going wheel to wheel with Quick Tongue on the pit straight. He's going to be on the inside for turn 1. No, he backs out and will slot behind in P11 for the time being. MSC Solar is into the pits for a front wing change. So again, the McLaren driver not having a good time. Both McLarens kind of faltering in this Grand Prix. But yeah, quite some interesting racing going on there. But ideally, it's working out for Gary.
So I'd like to point out is Whiffy Winner and Killer F1 going well to well, and Whiffy Winner backs out of it. As I saw they were almost neck and neck there, as Killer on the 10-lap compound or the hard 10 laps on the hards. Whiffy Winner goes for a big dive bomb, makes contact. He's on the curve.
Oh!
And he's lucky that he did not get spun around there. That was an optimistic dive, and he paid the price. No wing damage, thankfully, as he got Killer F1 out of the DRS range by doing that. Now he'll just blow past him with the DRS range. Not DRS range, DRS.
Yep, he has now moved himself up into the top 5. Is probably going to chase after the Alfa Romeo of Katra. Speaking of Katra, she's just going to try and go on the inside of Kieran into turn 1. Does she get the move done? Yes, she does. She has now moved herself back up into a podium place. Remember, she had 2 podiums before this. She's on the podium once again and has now gotten ahead of the Alpine. Going to try and chase after the Red Bull of Mitchie and try and also catch Gary. But Gary at the moment just kind of keeping it stationary between himself and Mitchie. But it pits us at the back, and that's Quick Tongue and Walking Chaos. Quick Tongue has interestingly gone onto the soft compounded tire. I believe Walking Chaos though he's gone onto the softs as well, so he's trying to play it really aggressive. So that's a very interesting call from the McLaren. We'll see how that pays off. Kieran though, he's hanging on to the back of Katra. Ardell gets a 3-second time penalty. He's actually going for a bit of a move on Killer up into P6. He's going to try and go around the outside of the hairpin. Locks up a little bit. Does Killer send him into the wall nearly? No, he doesn't. Actually, they were nowhere near the wall. But Ardell gets the better traction, and Ardell has moved himself up into P6, has the DRS. Killer does not have the DRS. Ron is actually now looking behind the Alpine, is gaining a lot on these 2 drivers. Ron's going to try and go on the inside of the Alpine driver. Gets tapped, though, and he spins. Bit of contact between himself and the Alpine, and he has spun out and has been knocked down to P9. I'm not sure that will be damage or not, but Ron just having a bit of a tangle with the Alpine driver. He is going to try and make up ground. Whiffy set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, by the way. He is catching up. Oh! Oh, no!
Kieran has wing damage. That's a safety car.
Huge moment from the 3 drivers. Katra having a moment and then catching Whiffy in the act, and same with Killer, and that is both Whiffy and Katra unfortunately out of this Grand Prix. And like you said before, Kieran has front wing damage, so that has not gone well for Katra, and now she has her first DNF of the season.
Wow, I was able to catch that. It seems like Kat got a bit of oversteer, trying to stay in the throttle, believed that she could control it, could not control it, hit the wall, DNF'd. Whiffy trying to take action and went to the left and hit, and didn't go to the left, excuse me, went to the right, flipped the inside wall, and then shot him back on the left side, hit that wall, and DNF'd. And Kieran, I'm assuming, ran over a piece of debris because that didn't look normal at all. Like when he was under braking, the car just turned right on him. So I'm assuming maybe he had a puncture. I'm not 100% sure, because if you do run over debris in this game, you will get a puncture.
Yes, indeed. And I actually noticed that a bunch of people went into the pits, especially Gary, Mitchie, Kieran, undoubtedly, because remember, Kieran had that front wing damage. Ardell and Ron also going into the pits as well. Then Gary has gone from P1 down into P3, but that, wow. All I gotta say is that the chat, looking over the chat, Bailey and Ishigo and Ritzy as well. They're pretty much having the same reaction as we were to that crash. Thank goodness it was a game because that was horrendous.
Yeah. As a driver, this would benefit 100% as Ron Swanson, as he was going for a move in the wall of champions and got spun around. I believe that's an NFA though, if he does send it to stewards. But I know Ron, I doubt he would send that to stewards. But let's say if he does, I believe that'll be an NFA, so nothing to worry about for I don't know who it was. It was Kieran, I believe. No, it was Killer.
Yes, it was. Oh yeah, you're right. It was Killer. Speaking of Killer, remember he's on the hards. He's leading this Grand Prix.
Yeah.
What a turnaround it's been for the Alpine. Remember, he started last. He started last, and now he is up into first. But look who's right behind him. He's got a lot of fast people behind him. Taco, Gary, Mitchie, and then the soft runners of Kieran, Chaos, Solar, and Ardel. So he's going to have a lot of pressure in this Grand Prix. I think Killer can possibly make it to the end, but man, is it going to be difficult with all that pressure behind him.
Yeah, it really is. If I'm Killer at this point, you gotta park it on that apex. No other way that you're gonna keep this lead, because you have 8 laps mediums to Taco, 1 lap from mediums to both Gary and Mitchie. Behind them, all the way to Ardell is new stops, and then Ron Swanson's 7 lap mediums, and back to Quick Tongue with 1 lap on the mediums. So it's just no other way to keep the lead except to just parking it like a bus, really. If I'm Killer right now, you just gotta be as slow as you can to stack everyone up. That way you can get better traction coming out of the corner. So yeah, that's probably if I'm Killer right now. So sorry for interrupting you. I was just trying to catch my breath there at the end. So if I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, if I'm Taco, Gary, Mitchie, and all them, I'm gonna try and get the perfect reaction times I can before the safety car restart. Speaking of the safety car restart, it is in this lap, so if I'm Taco, I gotta get the best start that I can, because if I'm on the rear gearbox, I am just sitting to get in turn 1, because you know Killer's gonna try to be slow as possible in the apex. That way you can hold everyone up, that way you can keep the lead. So we will see what he will do, and we will see what Taco and the rest behind him will do.
Yep, as the safety car is in this lap, I actually noticed that Quick Tongue actually has a drive-through penalty, so that's not going to help the Mercedes, as he's going to be, well, he's already in last, but he's going to be relegated further down. He's going to have to try and, well, just try and hope for a safety car, really. But Killer is already gone. He's tried to catch out the Aston Martin. Race is now resumed. Killer now leads the pack ahead of Taco and Gary. Remember, Gary, he pitted. He's in P3. He's going to be one to watch out for. He's going to try and pressurize the two in front of him. He is on the fresher mediums, or just the fresher compound. And Mitchie gets a 3-second time penalty. Mitchie was behind Gary and now has a time penalty. That's not going to help the Red Bull driver at all. And so far, though, everyone's just holding position for the time being. Killer leading this back ahead of Gary. Gary's looking, though he's pretty close to the Aston Martin of Taco. He could possibly go for a move, but he has to be careful. There he is on the wall. That's going to allow Taco. Yeah, Taco's going to try and go around the outside of the hairpin. You're seeing a lot of moves here. Does Taco get it done? There's a bit of contact between the two. And does Killer manage to hold position? No, he doesn't. Taco gets the better traction, and now Taco leads this Grand Prix. But look at Gary, though. He's on the back of Killer. He's on that ERS button. He's going to try and get ahead of the Alpine driver. He's in the slipstream. It is very close between these three as Killer actually goes into the pits. So that releases Taco, and that releases Gary and Killer and pretty much everyone in this Grand Prix. But Taco now leads. He started P14, and now the Aston Martin, he is leading this Grand Prix ahead of Gary, but that's going to be a lot of pressure. Walking Chaos, though, he's on the softs. He's going to try and pressurize the two in front of him. So is everyone else. The top three just kind of pulling away from P4 Kieran for the time being. For the most part, though, everyone keeping it clean.
Yeah, as a driver, I'd like to point out in P3 is Walking Chaos, 5 lap holds off. As it seems like the top three have gotten themselves a little DRS train once it gets activated. Walking Chaos is undoubtedly the faster of the two. Gary's starting to drop off a little bit from Taco's. Taco's mediums coming in to be around that range, 10 laps mediums. So I would expect his time to start coming in around now. Speaking, I was just say that Taco gets bad traction around the hairpin. Let's see Gary close up around 4 tenths. Walking counts and Gary's gap is 5 tenths. So it's around there. Gary's on the button. 2 tenths behind. Will he go for a move? No, he will not. Which will be why the fingers are down, loses a spot to Solar. Actually, they're going well to the wheel, actually. As thankfully, they were not able to make contact in this run around. As DRS has been enabled and Walking Chaos just the fastest lap with an 11.8.
Yes, he does, and like you said before, he's on the back of the front too, but he is on the soft, so there could be a potential drop-off later on in this Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see. Lap 22 of 35. Really, the main person in the box seat right now is Gary, but he's struggling a little bit. Maybe the dirty air from Taco is not helping him, as Walking Chaos is on the back of that Mercedes. Mitchie gets ahead of Solar up into P6, but we're going to focus on the lead for the time being. Taco just getting pretty good traction out of most of these corners, but Gary with that slipstream, he's getting aided by all of this and is going to try and make a move. But Walken actually tries to go for a move with a hairpin. He is on the sauce. He's going to try and get the better traction. No, he doesn't, but that has caught Gary out massively. But he does have the DRS. He does have slipstream. He is using that ERS button. Is he going to try and go for a move into the final chicane?
Yes,
they're now going wheel to wheel. Gary on the outside, Taco on the inside. Do they make contact? No, they do not. Taco has to cut the corner, though. But that now Gary is leading this Grand Prix where he started from. He's going to now try and pull away from the McLaren of Walking Chaos on those soft compound tires, as he was really giving a lot of pressure to the drivers in front of him. He is right on the back of the Aston Martin, but look who's actually catching up to these two. The Alpine of Kieran. He's going to try and challenge these two. Fastest lap now goes to Killer on those mediums with a 1:11.6. That's a pretty decent lap time for him. We'll see how that. We'll see if that sticks. As long as he just keeps it on track, he will get that point. As there's only 10 drivers left in this Grand Prix. Kieran, though, he's in the DRS between these drivers. And Gary, look at Gary though, 1.2 ahead of Taco. Walking Chaos is now going to try and go around the outside of Taco at the hairpin. Taco, late braking though, manages the whole position. But Walking Chaos, he does have the DRS. He is right on the back of the Aston Martin. He's going to pull out to the right-hand side and clears the Aston Martin. And maybe Kieran can get in the action as well. He's getting close to the Aston Martin of Taco, but it's just not enough. But he's going to try and get a good exit out of this corner. Actually, Taco gets a good exit, but he doesn't have the DRS. So that is going to relegate him down to P3. Bit of a position change. Both the Rebels actually swapping. Mitchie getting ahead of Ardell up into P5. And MSD Solar is right behind these two for the time being. But quite a crazy Grand Prix nevertheless. And, well, like I said before, everyone keeping it clean. It's staying the same. And with Walking Chaos now getting ahead of Taco, he's going to try and pressurize the Mercedes in front. But if he wants to get this win, he's going to have to get ahead and pull, because that is going to be very hard trying to pull away on degrading softs.
Yeah, it really is, and I would even say now, as Solar gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, I'd say around now the softs will have to start falling off, because I did practice sessions for Elastic yesterday and the day before, is that around after 7 laps, your softs would start dying off. As Kieran is only 2 tenths behind Taco, I believe he'll be looking for a move. He has no ERS whatsoever. He goes on the outside and Taco just lets him through.
Yep, easy, simple, done for the Alpine. And he moves himself up into P3. But Taco, with that slipstream, can he possibly try and challenge the Alpine? No, he doesn't. He slots behind for the time being. There's a bit of commotion at the back as Solar is trying to make a move on Ardell. They're getting really close, these two. But Solar, remember, he is on 10-lap-old softs, so those softs are just not working well for him. But he's going to stay in P7 for the time being. Bit of a position change, though, and Taco's gotten back ahead of the Alpine driver. Makes a bit of a mistake, though. Kieran's going to try and get back ahead of Taco. He's got the ERS, he's got the slipstream, and he, well, easily sails past the Aston Martin once again. Does Taco try and challenge it back? No, he doesn't. Kieran gets a little bit of a snap, though. And Kieran, no! I think Mitchie might have tapped the back of Taco, and now Taco is out of this Grand Prix. Is that going to be another safety car? Doesn't look like it. So with that collision, Taco is out of this Grand Prix. There will be no safety car. And if I'm not mistaken,
No, yes, there is a
I
safety car.
think... Oh, it is a safety car, so it was a late change. So that could be interesting. Who's going to box? Who's going to pit in this race? Well, yep, Walking Chaos is in. And he is no doubt going to go on to another set of soft compounded tires. Only 2 laps on those puppies though. And let's see if he can try and get back up to Gary, as Gary has stayed out on the mediums. But just we said before that the Aston Martin was not having the greatest of times after Spain, and that basically just proves it, as that is his first DNF of the season.
I believe Gary has made a crucial mistake here. Stayed out on the mediums, and everyone else behind him is on a fresh set of softs, except for Kieran, with 3 laps of mediums. So Gary and Kieran, they are sitting ducks 100%. They, to be honest, but the thing is, in Gary's favor, everyone else behind him, except for Ron and Killer, they all have time penalties. And yeah,
I think that's why he realized, yes, everyone having at least a 3-second cure with a 5-second, interestingly. I think he might have collided with someone, but I think that's what Gary was thinking about, because he knows that he can easily go to the end on those mediums, but Walking Chaos can easily go to the end on those softs. There's only 2 laps on the softs. Gary, actually, thank you, Ishigo, for mentioning this. Gary actually already passed the pits by the time the safety car came out, so Gary, he was, in reality, not able to do anything. So that's why he had to stay out, basically. He had no choice. But Gary's going to have a lot of pressure now in this Grand Prix, as I think everyone behind him, except for Kieran, like you said, on the softs. He's going to have a lot of pressure. But ideally, what he's going to want to do is just try and be penalty-free.
yeah, the safety car, it doesn't help, but the time penalties and just how many laps left in the race in general helps him out here. Mitchie goes on a new set of softs. It's just to serve this 5-second time penalty they got with the collision with Kieran. But I believe safety car will be in this lap, if I would be correct, if Mitchie can catch up in time. So I'm excited. It's gonna be basically a whole 9-lap dash till the finish, but that's saying if there's no more safety car.
We shall see. Lap 27 of 35. If the safety car does come in this lap, it will go to lap 28, which I believe is going to be 7 or 8 laps of racing. You do not want to tune out just yet, as there's still a lot of things that happen in this Grand Prix. We've had a total of 6 retirees in this Grand Prix. Kieran, Sainz, Stig, Katra, Whiffy, and Taco. They have unfortunately DNF from this Grand Prix, and that leaves just 9 runners in this race. I don't think the safety car is going to be in this lap, though, because although, actually, yeah, Mitchie has not caught up, but interestingly, Killer's backed off a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on there. Have to wait and see what he was doing there. Maybe he was really close to a collision. I'm not entirely sure. But the safety car will not be in on lap 27. And it'll instead most likely be in on lap 28. So we still have to wait for another lap of safety car. But nonetheless, it still hopefully should provide some great racing, as we will have now 7 laps of racing left.
The thing is, it's a double-sided advantage for both Gary, Kieran on the medium, and Walking Chaos and all them on the softs. I already mentioned why it's good for Gary, especially for Gary because of time penalties. But for the soft riders, this helps them because the less laps they run on the softs is the more grip they're going to have at the end. So I would not be surprised if that extra lap helped these guys on the softs out a lot.
Do you suspect that it would, due to the fact that due to being under the safety card, since they're not pushing, obviously the degradation is not going to be as much as it would be if they were to be pushing, especially for Chaos, because he is actually on the oldest set of softs. Same with Quick Tongue. They're on 4 lap old softs. They still got plenty of life in them, but it's going to be a little bit difficult near the end. So he's going to have to watch out for possibly Ardel in this Grand Prix, as he is the highest runner on the softs that have only 2 laps on them. But the safety car is in this lap. It is now Gary's discretion to basically lead the pack and try and get away from all these drivers. As remember, he has that 3-second. Look at Walking Chaos, though. He is very close to that Mercedes. He wants to get past as soon as possible. Gary is fully aware of this. He's just weaving on the track, trying to get tire temperature in. He's going to try and catch everybody out like he did before. He's now going to go already. Has that caught out Walking Chaos like he did with Minchie? Not quite. So Gary not entirely catching out Walking Chaos, but does get a better exit out of the final chicane. Race is now resumed as Gary has now crossed the line, and 7/10s already between Gary and Walking Chaos. That's exactly what Gary wanted. And Gary could possibly be pressurized from Kieran, but look at Ardel though. He's actually pressurizing the Alpine of Kieran, trying to get up into P3, try and get on the podium for Canada. We'll see how that pans out. He is right on the back of the Alpine driver. He made quite a few overtakes in this Grand Prix. He's going to want to make this one as soon as possible. He is on the ERS button. There is a yellow flag. That is Quick Tongue. He has spun off on the exit of 7, I think. Kieran Epic gets a 3-second time penalty as he actually went wide there. That's going to allow Ardel to sail past the Alpine. And look at MC Solar as well. Solar is actually looking as well. Kieran goes back down the inside of Ardel, and he doesn't quite get the move done. So Ardel will now slot into P3. That's gonna allow Solar and Ron to possibly get interested, as Ron is right on the back of the McLaren driver. The McLaren is right on the back of the Alpine. The Alpine is right on the back of the Red Bull. But the top 2, compared to all this battling, the top 2 are completely strict out. There's a bit of damage though. Could that have been for the Alpine of Kieran? No, it hasn't. I saw a bit of damage. I'm not entirely sure where it was from. It was actually from Solar. So Solar now has front wing damage. It has not come up for the McLaren driver. The other McLaren driver, look at that! Yeah. He is right on the back of that Mercedes. He's trying to make the overtake as soon as possible. Gary just trying to park the car like a gigantic wall, basically. And so far, he is doing that. Walking Chaos gets decent traction out of this corner, though. He is in the slipstream. But it's not going to be enough. He doesn't have DRS. That's what he wants right now. He wants DRS to try and get past the Mercedes driver. Then try and bowl a lead. Gets a little squirrely on the exit, though. But won't try and challenge at the hairpin unless he sends it here. He does not. So he will slot behind into P2 for the time being. But he is in the slipstream of the Mercedes. Gets really good traction out of that corner, actually. He is gaining on the Mercedes, but not enough compared to what he wants. There's a yellow flag in the back that might be for Solar, but we're going to focus on the lead still, as Ardel has actually caught up to the back of these two. So remember what I said about Ardel being on 2-lap fresher softs compared to Walking Chaos? This is exactly what I mean. Ardel apparently having the pace. DRS is now enabled, and Ardel sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So his pace has definitely been confirmed. He is on the back of these 2 drivers trying to challenge for the lead, but he has 9 seconds of penalties. So he's going to have to be careful, as having those 9 seconds, that he'll drop him down by quite a lot of positions. So that's not going to help Ardel. He's going to want to make these moves, and he's going to want them done now. But so far, he is running in P3, but right now it's not going to be enough. Gary's breaking the slipstream. In case you haven't noticed there, Gary is breaking the slipstream a little bit. Walking Chaos trying to make sure he doesn't get past, and that helped him going into turn 7. Well, Walking Chaos, he is right on the back of the Mercedes. He's going to dive around the outside of the hairpin. Goes really deep, though. That's going to allow Ardel to get up on the inside of Walking Chaos, but Walking Chaos gets really good traction, and he stays behind. But Walking Chaos hasn't actually lost that much time. He's in the DRS. He's in the slipstream of Gary. He pulls out to the left-hand side. We see a lot of contact over here. No contact for the time being. Gary lets Walking Chaos by, and now Walking leads this Grand Prix, but he has that 3-second time penalty. Look at Ardel, though. He's going to try and pressurize the Mercedes. He thinks about it. I think there's a little bit of contact between them. Now Ardel's going to try and go around the outside of the Mercedes driver. This is what Walking Chaos wants. There's a yellow flag in the back that might be for Killer. Yes, it is. He has spun off on the exit of turn 1, so that's not going well. But already Walking Chaos pulling. Look at that, 1.4 seconds between him and Gary. That's not what Gary wants. He wants to win this Grand Prix. He wants to stay within the 3 seconds. And it's 1.5 for the time being. He's still in it, but it is increasing ever so much more, and he's got a lot of pressure still from the back of Ardel.
Yeah, it seems like Ardel hit the curb and was steering to the right a little bit. Now the gap at 1.8 with coming 31 laps complete, coming to 32 at the strike. The gap at 1.8. Walking Cast will have to 1.9 now, 2 seconds. Now just a gap. Ardel and DRS.
Look at Ardel.
Neither Gary and Ardel have DRS to use. Ardel goes on the outside and he gets a good camera angle, and Gary lets him take it.
Oh! Gary is round on the exit of the chicane, and that is not what Gary wanted at all. And now he is relegated down to P6 and has damage. So he started from pole position and now has spun off at the exit of turn 14 and is relegated down. And that's gonna help Walking Chaos and Ardel. But in case you haven't noticed, look who's P3. Ron. He doesn't have a penalty.
Yeah,
Could Ron potentially get the win?
Provisionally P2 for now. Let's see if he can get in the DRS range of Ardel. That would be crucial between him and the gap between Walking Chaos, because Ardel is actually staying even with Walking Chaos for now. So if I'm wrong here, at one side you gotta push, but the other side you gotta keep it in the track limits, because you have the time penalties on your side. You don't have any. Everyone else around you does. You have really no threat on the track right now. All you have to do is save up the DRS and just use it on the final couple laps. If he gets in that DRS range of Ardel, I can believe that he has a shot to win this Grand Prix.
We shall see. He is 4.1 behind Walking Chaos. What he wants is Walking Chaos to get another 3-second time penalty and will be potentially in the lead. Like you said, he'll definitely have P2, but he's going to want to win this. He's going to try and either push or just keep it easy while Walking Chaos is pushing. And there's a bit of position changes near the back. I think Mitchie got past Kieran up into P4. So Red Bull 2 and 4 is gone well for them. And then there's more positions at the back. Gary has actually gone into the pits. There it is! Yes! It's a good thing you caught that. He gets another 3-second time penalty and now has 6 seconds. And Ron is only 4.3 behind on the penultimate lap. Ron can win this!
Ron can win this. You just gotta save up the battery. You gotta use it on, especially on the second half of the last lap. You gotta twin it. Walking Chaos and Ardel 2.2. The gap between, at this point, we gotta put the gap to the leader. Ron has 2 seconds. He's 2 seconds to the good. We can see Ron Swanson win this race. But the race isn't over until it's over.
Yeah, it's not over until it's over. Ron looked like he was taking it a little bit easy through that chicane. Unsurprisingly, he does not want a penalty. We're on the final lap of this Grand Prix. Walking Chaos leads on track. But in terms of penalties, right now it's Ron. We'll have to see how that pans out. There's a bit of a battle, though, between Mitchie and Kieran for P4. But Kieran does have 5 seconds, so that's not going to help him whatsoever, as he will be relegated down to, I think, yeah, he will be relegated down to behind his teammate. Kieran, though, getting a decent exit out of that corner, but that isn't enough to catch up to the back of the Red Bull driver. But remember what I said before at the beginning of this Grand Prix, that Canada can throw a surprise. It threw quite a bit of a surprise in F2. It threw a surprise in Realistic. And we have gotten yet another surprise in this Grand Prix. Walking Chaos, he goes through the final couple of corners. He's gonna win on track and finish P1. Ardel is gonna finish P2. But Ron Swanson, thanks to penalties, wins the Grand Prix by 6/10 ahead of the McLaren driver. Mitchie finishes at P4. Kieran Evans finishes P5, but he'll be relegated down to P6 as Killer jumps him. Quick Tongue will finish in P7. Solar will finish P8. Gary will finish a lowly P9. But Ron Swanson, time penalties, we said that it was going to be a factor. Boy, was it a factor indeed.
Yeah, it's something I could point out for Ron Swanson's backstory here at Canada. Season 5, Tier 5. He didn't have, the game wasn't on his side really. He had a glitch, had wing damage. and wasn't able to get the result that he wanted or needed last season. I believe, I didn't watch the stream, so I don't know what happened. I'm assuming he got in a crash or got wing damage as well, and the result he needed. Now, I didn't ask him anything about it. He told me he isn't expecting a win. At this point, he just wants to finish in a good result at the Canadian Grand Prix. Well, this is certainly a good result. Top step of the podium, and we'll take home 25 points, which will be crucial here in the Tier 3 Championship.
It is very crucial indeed. It is his second win of the season. He is now tied on wins with Gary and Taco, all 2 apiece, and that is going to help his championship dramatically. But there are your race results. Ron Swanson wins the Canadian Grand Prix ahead of the McLaren of Walking Chaos, who started P2. Ardel finishes in P3 for Canada, so we get another Canadian on the podium ahead of his teammate Mitchie, the Australian. Then Killer finishes P5. Kieran finishes in P6 ahead of Quick Tongue. And then Gary, I think MSC Solar had a lot of time penalties because he went down to P9. But we had quite a few retirees in this Grand Prix with Taco, Whiffy, Katra, Stig, Sainz, and the other Kieran, VRL Kieran, being the first DNF of this race. Gary gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so he still will have an extra point. But it's just heartbreak for him. But it is absolute elation for the Ferrari of Ron Swanson.
Yeah, as unfortunately, Walking Chaos will not be able to do interviews, so it will just be Ardel or Ron, or unless you can get someone in like the driver of the day. I don't know who it was, I'm not sure. But it was Killer. We can get him in interviews if you want, Monaco, but if you don't want to, that's fine.
You can invite him if you want to. I definitely do not mind.
Alright, oh, he left his, oh, there it is. I can invite him to the...
Of course, drivers, be sure to check the box up on the top in the party, so you can include your audio in the stream, as we shall wait for Killer, in which he was not able to join in qualifying, but he joined into the race. He started P15, and he managed to come up into P5. So very well done to him, as he gets 10 points for his championship, and a very well done to him, as we shall wait for him to see if we can get him in. But I think we should start it off for now with the Red Bull of BRL ARDEL. And Zach, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I will. Ardel, in the qualifying, it was wet conditions, but eventually transferred over into intermediate conditions. Seemed like you got pole at one point, but you were toppled off. And going in the race, you were really under the radar, really. We didn't mention your name in the stream at all, but under the safety car, you had time penalties, but the soft compounded tire, you had the fresher sets out of everyone ahead of you, and you were able to get that podium because of that. So how's your race from first person perspective, and what did you think of the race overall?
It was fun. It was definitely fun. Yeah, it was kind of just, I guess, cruising until the last safety car. I don't know if you caught it, but I did pass my teammate in the pits, and I'm taking that as being the only driver to do that so far this season. So I'll take that. Yeah, I don't know if my podium will stand, just because I'm pretty sure Mitchie and Kieran hit each other on the safety car. So I don't know how that's going to work out. But yeah, it was just a fun race overall.
Yeah, next week...
Well, Mitchie did actually serve that in the pits, so either way, he only had 3 seconds.
I was talking more about Kieran, because we didn't have Kieran got one, since they hit into each other.
Yes, he did, I believe.
Did he serve it?
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm wondering about, because I'm pretty sure Kieran was on there, so making it to be, so... But yeah, fun race.
Just want to add a quick comment about that race, though. Just like me in Realistic, for you, it was a home Grand Prix for you as well, and you managed to get on the podium. It may not have been the win, but wouldn't you say that a podium at your home track is still a very great feeling?
Oh yeah, man, it was a great feeling, mate. Yeah.
Very interesting. You said yeah a lot there.
Yeah. But man, you know, it's always I've always had a courage on track. I have never done well, so even just to get a podium, I'm happy with it. So yeah.
Well, nonetheless, it was still a very deserved podium. And unless Zach has anything else to say, we shall move on to P1. But Zach, do you have anything?
I do. I was going to ask a question before you had to add in your extra comment, which, Ardel, this week we went from the hybrid streets of Canada. Now, next week, we're going to Paul Ricard. How do you feel going into that race? Especially knowing that one of your championship rivals have gained points on you.
Wait, who was? Oh yeah, Ron did. Sorry, I still am kind of.
How could you forget?
I didn't know Ron won until after what's it called? I saw the race director stream.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm really feeling confident around Paul Ricard because if my setup still works, which I'm praying it does, the car is more plated than the 2020 Merc. So yeah. Should be interesting.
We shall see in a week's time, but nonetheless, well done to you on your podium at your home track, and that'll bring 15 points for Red Bull and for your championship. But we are now going to move on to P1. Unfortunately, Killer was not able to join us, so he will not be in interviews with us. But we are obviously going to go on to who finished P1 in this race, which is Ron Swanson. Ron, you had I guess you could say a bit of an up and down qualifying session. You started P6, but through all those safety cars and through your race pace and ideally keeping it clean with time penalties, you managed to come up from what that was to a win at the Canadian Grand Prix. How do you feel about getting your second win at the street hybrid of Canada?
I feel ecstatic. I finally have a win in BRL that was streamed, so that's going to be great. But it was a tough one. I hate Canada. I do not like this track at all. It is by far, I'd have to say, my worst track ever. Next to like Monaco and Singapore, I just don't like those tracks, and they just don't suit me. But I actually started P8. I was real mad about the qualifying because the car felt great in the wet, and I was on a 1 second pole lap until I got, I believe it was turn 8, and I just went a little too over on the left curb, and it got deleted, of course. And so it was a little unfortunate, especially since it ended up costing me all the way down to P8. But I didn't feel good in the race at all. Most of the time I was way too loose. It took about 10 laps for the mediums to start feeling better, where I could actually get pacey. The softs felt a lot better, but the medium was the race tire by far, so I never raced on the softs until that last stint. But I kept it clean the entire time. I did exactly what I did in realistic, except this time I didn't listen to a certain someone. I listened to someone even better, who I'd like to thank again, Biwo. He didn't really, I won't say he did a lot. He's basically like our cheerleader. He loves to do that, and I love him being there because it does help. He gives us the time penalties, which I didn't think I was going to win, but that's the McLaren's fault right there. He could have had it, but he gave himself another 3 seconds on those closing laps. And so I just took it nice and easy for the rest of the way because I was on 2 warnings. I got a warning on that safety car restart to make my second one, and I got another warning in the beginning of the race somewhere, I think lap like 8. And so I just kept it nice, calm, and cool, and because I knew all I had to do was do that. But that's what I did pretty much the entire race, because I tried to race one person, nearly cost me to get right out of the Grand Prix. So there was not a lot of kind people racing out there, but that's nothing new with this tier.
It may not be, but that's the excitement of racing in this. And despite what happened in that Grand Prix, like you said, taking it easy, that was very much the way to go. And you got your your second win, but your first win, I think, before post-race no, sorry. I'm not entirely sure, but you had, either way, you have your second win of the season, and you help your championship. And I'm gonna ask the same question that Zach asked Ardell here. Here we go from the straight hybrid of Canada over to a very open and very, well, I guess you could say a very blinding track, Paul Ricard, France. Considering you have this win, and ideally helping your championship, what are your expectations? Do you think you could possibly go for third, or are you going to just try and take it easy?
I mean, in the end of the day, third would be, of course, great. I love France. It's one of my top tracks, so of course you want to do good at one of your top tracks, but I don't know. I'm kind of going blind in a lot of these tracks because I've taken note that some tracks that I liked in F1 2021 are not the same in F1 2020 are not the same in this new F1 2021 game. So we'll just have to wait and see. It all depends if I get a good setup. There's a lot of straights there. It really is just going to depend on that, and depends on how lucky you are. If you get stuck in a DRS train, you're not really going to be able to do much. It's kind of what was happening here. It was very hard to pass, especially if the car was loose, and a lot of people would get loose, nearly spin, and then you would go side by side with them, and they just race the snot out of you. So hopefully that goes better. But I don't know. I'd love to win again, but I won't say I will. Maybe top 5 would be nice. Just hopefully I don't DNF.
Yeah, nobody wants a DNF, and ideally, I think that is your fourth podium, and obviously your second win. So congratulations to you, Zach. Do you have any comments to Ron about that race?
Yeah, I would like to congratulate you on the win, especially knowing your backstory here at Canada. That I mentioned before.
My backstory?
Yeah.
You're right, it killed my mom. I forgot about that.
Whoa. Okay.
My dark okay, Canadian backstory. I just don't like the track. I don't like the track. And I don't like Jeff from last race. Jeff lied to me. Jeff was mean. Jeff told me heavy rain. Jeff lied.
Don't throw this at Jeff, okay?
Okay,
Jeff
well.
is legendary.
Nah, I feel like there should come a point where you should throw a diss at Jeff, because I've had some weird strategy calls from him. That's why I ignore him.
Everyone has weird strategy calls from him, bro.
I thought I was gonna pull the biggest brain play ever, and it ended up being the complete opposite. But yeah, thanks for the congratulations, Zachy boy.
Yeah, that's all I have, really. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
And yeah, congratulations to you, and congratulations to Ardell, and to Walk in Chaos as well. It may not have been the win, but it's still a podium for you, and 18 points to your name. So well done to everyone on the podium. And that is going to be everything for Tier 3, but don't tune out just yet, because in around 30 minutes time, we will have Tier 4, which shall be hosted by myself and Feta, so you get to hear more of my voice again. Yay.
Not so much.
Yeah, tune in to see that, and just watch how that race goes on. But from Zach and I, that is going to be everything in Tier 3, and we shall see you in time.
Hope I don't get in trouble.